Michael, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. And you?
Good to see you again.
Same here, Steve. Good to see you. How are things going on with you?
So far, so good.
Right. Are you back in Germany? Because I know you've been traveling around recently.
Yes, I am back to Berlin.
Nice, nice, nice. So, how are your trips so far? I was seeing the updates on
Well,
LinkedIn.
quite enriching. A lot of opportunities, to be honest.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah. Good,
yeah,
glad.
a lot of opportunities. Yeah,
Nice.
and that's why I'm excited, even more excited to be here today because there's quite a lot actually the German can offer.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Good, good, good.
yeah.
Well, I can't wait to hear everything that you have to say. I'd
Yeah,
like to
I'm
first
looking
thank you.
forward to.
Yeah, I'd like to first thank you very much for taking out the time to yeah, have this session with us, the chat with
It's
the
a pleasure.
audience. Yeah. Um,
It's a pleasure for
the,
me.
the Ausbildung space, I think it's a quite an interesting pathway, to not just to move abroad, but to,
Mm,
settle in and have a nice life.
that's
Um,
right.
I think this is going to be the focus for us today, amongst other things that we will also discuss. So, but
Yeah.
I think first, maybe you can just briefly introduce yourself so that the audience get to know you, and
Yeah.
just a bit about what you do too.
Gladly. So, my name's Stephen Boete. The Germans have it difficult to pronounce my family name. They say Boete because there is a W there,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's Boete, like a U in the middle. I come
Hmm.
from the Pearl of Africa, Uganda. It's a beautiful country.
Okay.
I've been living in Germany now for over 16 years, coming here as a student and completed all my undergraduate and my graduate studies here. And I finally started working for a pathway school called Eurasia Institute,
Yeah.
which is mainly the leading, if I wouldn't be boasting a lot, is the first pioneer when it comes to promoting German university education. So
Okay.
I worked responsible. My responsibilities were mainly preparing and bringing students from Africa and Latin American region to
Okay.
Germany. Uh,
Okay. Okay.
besides that, I started the whole idea of vocational or promoting the career
Mm.
pathways. So I later on became the manager for the career pathways, mainly focusing on the healthcare related jobs.
Healthcare
Um,
related jobs. Okay.
since last year or this year actually, I started an agency called Kyoto Consults, whose main idea actually is to help students, but also to help agencies who are not very much interested in Germany to start looking at Germany critically because it has a lot of opportunities for students. I would say, especially students from Africa,
Mm,
we have a lot of opportunities here.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Speaking about opportunities, could you just give an overview of the
Mm,
kind of opportunities that students from Africa can
mm.
look forward to when it comes to Germany?
Very good. So I would say I would divide them into three categories. I would say the first category would be those who are interested in coming to Germany for academic opportunities or academic studies or public universities, for example. Germany offers the free public tuition universities. I know you have handled this topic quite a number of times, having gone through your posts. But quite a number of people still don't know that you can complete a bachelor's, a master's degree, even a PhD here in Germany without having to pay tuition.
Okay.
And I'm sure that quite a number of students would benefit from
True.
that. The second opportunity would be for those who are coming to Germany interested in the vocational on-job training programs. So
Mm-hmm.
today we want to talk about the vocational training in nursing, but there are also other topics, other subjects. There are quite a number of other subjects students can do as a vocation on-job training in Germany. Then the third opportunity, I would say, is for those who are interested in coming here for professional migration, so careers. So people who have completed their studies abroad, there are currently opportunities for them to legally come to Germany. There's a legal path, and I'm sure this could take another life, where you can come to Germany on a job search visa, but you can also come to Germany with an offer already with a company that is sponsoring you. So those are the three main opportunities I would say that Germany offers at the moment.
And I mean, also, when you look at the location of Germany in Europe, and also when you think about its position within the global economy, Germany also presents itself as a very attractive location, you know, for people who want to migrate, who want to move abroad. And this is something that I am always advocating for, because I know personally, like from my experience as well, when I thought about moving abroad to further my studies, the first place that came to my mind were English-speaking countries. This is just like the typical thing, right? If you're coming from an English-speaking African country, you think first of the UK, you think of Canada, the USA, and sometimes also Australia, you know? So I think this is really making people to like limit the opportunities available to them. And I 100% agree with you. Germany offers a lot of opportunities. I think you've broken them down into like three, you know, main areas, but I think one can still even go deeper into that and, you know, open up other things. Yeah, so and I think also another unique thing is that vocational pathway. This is not so common in many other countries as well. I think the nice thing is also the recognition of the qualification which you get, not just in Germany, but also other parts of the world. Maybe we can, you know, dive into that right now if you'd like to, the vocational pathway.
Sure.
Maybe we start from it, you know, completely, and then we narrow it down to the health sector, which we can then go into the reasons why this is very important in Germany today.
True. Very good that you mentioned that. But back again to the point of people opening up their mindsets, of thinking of beyond what we've been taught. Because if I come from Uganda, where English is the native, or the medium of instruction, of course I can go to the UK, but what else do I get apart from the same qualification that someone from Uganda will have? So coming here, you learn a new language and you are exposed to opportunities in 27 plus countries. So its location, the language is always an advantage. Now, back to the question about the general understanding of vocation. In some countries, let's say my own country where I come from, so we used to call these polytechnics. And polytechnics are usually the kind of institution where you learn hands-on, you know, practical training. The unfortunate part is that most of these polytechnics, they still don't produce anything. They will give you some kind of knowledge which you can't use in anywhere. And you find people coming from polytechnics still looking for jobs. Yet these people should be the ones now being innovative and creating and solving solutions, industry solutions. And this is the German vocational system. It's quite interwoven in the German industry, whereby small companies, global champions, train students for 3 years, working within the same organization, learning how to do things. And these students later on become their future employees. So it's a future employment training opportunity for students. So companies use it as an opportunity to secure employees for professionals, but students use it as a soft landing ground to learn hard skills and soft skills. So the advantage of it is that you land into the German working system from day one. Unlike some of us who came here and did a bachelor's and a master's degree, and then they ask you for some kind of experience. Here you have experience right from day one. So that's the vocational training. And it has two categories. It has the theoretical part where students sit in a classroom to learn the theory behind the practice. And then they have the practice part where they practically go and put into action that what they have learned. And then later on, they have a reflection part where they reflect on the discrepancy between what they learned in class and what were the differences between what they learned in class and the real life experience at work. So it's quite another round, a very comprehensive system, which is quite unique, I would say.
Just to mention to those people that are watching, we see you all guys, and thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to ask your question if you have any. we hope it's going to be an interactive session where we take questions from the audience. But so while we wait for the questions to come, let's talk about the different areas that one can undergo these vocational trainings. So how broad are the fields that you can undergo vocational training?
Yeah. So since the topic today was health, I would focus on those health-related topics. So the first one would be the vocational training program for those interested in nursing. As a nurse, you become a state-examined nurse, meaning that you have the right qualification as a state-examined nurse to work in 3 areas of training. You work in the clinical environment, you can work in an elderly care environment, and you could also be able to work in the pediatry, which is the child care environment. So that's the uniqueness of this nursing course, because initially or traditionally it was called Altenpflege, where the main focus was looking after old people. And it has changed since 3 years now, that students who are training under this qualification is almost close to an academic qualification, though you will not be getting a Bachelor of Science, it will be a state exam, but the qualification enables you to work anywhere in the world and is quite easily adjustable to any other education system. And students who complete this bachelor or this vocational training can easily transit into the academic training. There are quite a number of other professions that you can go in. For example, you can become a Bachelor of Science, you can do a Bachelor of Science in Health Management, in Public Health, in medical informatics, for those who are looking at the technical part of it. But you can also upgrade within the same element of work. Say you are employed in a hospital, you can become a specialist in wound management. With your qualification, you become an exceptional trainee, and if you want, you can also train to become an anesthetist, or you can train to become a case manager. You can train to become a specialist in technical operations assistant, or you can become a medical device specialist. You can train to become a midwife. Also, quite a demanding, very well, it's quite a job that is not well supplied here in Germany. They need a lot of midwives. We call them Hebamme. Quite a number of times these people are not here, and those who are available are very much on market. And I understand in most of our countries there are quite a number of midwives who are not even employed. So the other opportunities could be those who are interested in medical device technicians. It's also an Ausbildung, a trainee program. Or if you want, you can train to become a physiotherapist or a speech therapist, or what we call a logopedy. So these are all kinds of trainee courses that are quite on demand, where employers are really looking left and right, but they cannot find enough professionals on the market. Good enough, most of the courses I've spoken about are provided in the hospitals, but also you could find a school which works with another institution like a home care where they can also do that.
You know, while you were explaining the different areas, something just came to my mind. I recall back then when I was studying here, there were some friends of mine studying medicine. It was very common to see that these guys studying medicine did an Ausbildung first before they started studying. It was just normal for them. They finished their high school, they went to do Ausbildung in one area, and then they continued to study medicine. Is this a common practice that you also see? And why do you think Germans do this? They first do Ausbildung before they go to study the main course, be it medicine or some of those other areas of specializations that you mentioned?
True. You mentioned exactly correct on that. And this is also the misconception of nursing. Most cases where I prepare students who are coming here to Germany to do nursing, they have a misconception that a nurse is an assistant to the doctor. But nurse here is quite all around. They do, during the training, they are going to have 3 years where they do rotations. They will do rotations in a hospital. They will do rotations in elderly care homes. They will do rotations in psychiatry wards. They will do rotations in outpatient, so what we call here ambulant flavor. And they will do rotations in managerial positions where they can also learn how to manage the health system. Say, for example, for those who are interested in the administrative part of nursing, they can go also into what we call the Verwaltung, the administration. These are people who could work with the health insurance companies, people who could work in quality care control, and so on. So now, back to the point, those students who do medicine here, they also have to do practically everything that vocational students do. They have to go into the elderly homes, they have to work, they have to clean, they have to take care of the hygiene roles and all these kind of things. So there is no way you can outsource certain responsibilities. They have to know how to do it.
You see, I guess maybe this is, it's just, I guess it's maybe the way the European culture is built. So everyone is like fully trained for whatever areas they're going into. It's just the system is so, I feel like the system is so complete in the sense that, for example, as a child, as a kid, from, I don't know, 2 or 3, you already started learning how to swim. It's just like a basic thing. And then at some point during your high school, you will learn how to drive. It's not like you want to do it. You already learn how to drive. I guess one can also think about that in the educational system. This is something you would do at some point if you studied medicine. You already would start preparing yourself. So you don't just go from high school straight to the uni. Some want to get that solid foundation and go through Ausbildung and then also go to study medicine or whatever else they want to study, and then their respective specializations. Let's think about young Africans, for example. Do you think this would also be a path for them? So I finished high school from my country, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, wherever. I learned the German language. We will come back to the requirement for us. But I'm trying to, drive at a point, for someone who has in their head, I want to become a medical doctor. I want to be like a solid training. Do you think it would also be a nice pathway for them to do maybe like Germans would do, high school, Ausbildung, and then they climb up to study medicine and then come out and go on like that? What do you think about this ideology?
Absolutely recommendable. I would say for a young person, I would say someone was finished WAEC at the age of 16, but you want to go for medicine. I consider medicine to be one of the toughest qualifications, especially here in Germany. So I have prepared and I've accompanied young girls and boys, especially from Nigeria, very talented, very energetic and young people. They come here and they want to do medicine. And sometimes I tell them, look, you could do 2 things. Either you can do language and then go for a student college, which is the foundation year, and then do 6.5 years of medicine, or you could finish your language already with your WAEC and do 3 years of vocational training. Now, you already have a qualification. At the end of the 3rd year, you have a qualification in your pocket. That means you can, whatever happens, you can always have a fallback plan. You have a qualification. Or even while you're studying medicine, you still can do work as a profession. Now, it's a very good way for those, especially who don't have the entrance marks, because medicine is very competitive and the entrance requirements are very high. And I always recommend students that if you find you will not have the 1.0, 1.3 grade to get into medicine, how about taking a path through the vocational track? Then have your 3 years training. And then once you're done, then try to get into the medical road.
That is a strategy. We'll be really well trained and have a better chance of getting that grade.
Yes, well trained, well founded, well grounded, with also a good understanding of the field of the industry, because it could also happen that maybe you find out during the course of the 3 years that probably this is not my calling, and then you have a chance now to shift. But how about doing medicine after 6.5 years and find out that, hey, I was actually meant to be something else?
But so let's go to the requirements now of Ausbildung. So someone coming from Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, wherever, coming with their high school qualification, how is it for them? Like, what's the process for them?
Very good question. The requirements vary from country to country because of the different systems of education. But the good thing about the Ausbildung is that the minimum entrance requirement is just a grade 10, or what we call the MSR here. This high school qualification would be sufficient. Say, for example, for talking about Nigeria, someone who has completed the WAEC or NECO, or maybe you have an HND, you can qualify for the Ausbildung.
Okay.
And someone who has, let's say from Uganda, if you have your ordinary and advanced certificate of education, you can qualify for this Ausbildung. Even in the worst case scenario, someone with an ordinary level with at least biology and English and the mathematical subject can qualify for this. If you're coming from any other country, I will have to look at the qualification, but on average, you would say a high school entrance requirement will be minimum.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to the non-academic requirement, I would say the motivation. The motivation for this is very, very important because it's not a qualification like any other. People who are coming for this kind of training, let's say for those who are interested in nursing, they are coming to become health care givers. They are giving health. They are enhancing health. They are taking care of other people. So this is not a profession that you would rather do for money, but it's a profession you do with a heart. You need a lot of empathy and understanding and communication skills and the flexibility to be placed in any environment, because you don't only do clinical responsibilities. There is also that hard part of it. There is that hygiene part, which we call the Grundpflege. So the basic care is the first thing that you'll be confronted with. You need to take care of the basic needs of another person, a person that you've not known before in your entire life. And that can be a challenge. It requires a strong mindset. And then later on, you go on to do the Behandlungspflege. That's where you start doing things like administering medical health process, taking injections or giving medications and testing blood pressure and all that. So that's probably the most interesting part. But before you go to that part, there is a dirty part that you have to do. So that requires a great deal of personal motivation and readiness. Now, the formal requirements may include also a statement of purpose where you express yourself. Why do I want to become a nurse? So here you talk about your interest, you talk about yourself, what you have done, and why you think becoming a nurse is the best thing for you. So when I prepare students for this kind of a process, I tell them, think about a scenario in your family, in your environment, your experience that exposed you to this. At what point did you realize you want to become a nurse? Then that's where you start to build your story. Okay. Then the other thing, which is quite normal, you need a CV, which is gapless, where you should be stating what you have been doing in your life. And you should be able to provide proof for everything that you're going to state on your CV. It's important not to put things on your CV that you cannot back up with references. And finally, there are going to be some kind of interviews in some cases, because getting admission into this program requires two main documents. You need a complete agreement from a school, which is going to be your theoretical background, where you're going to take the theoretical classes. And then you need a job contract from an employer. An employer will give you a job contract, which states that you will be working here throughout the 3 years, though with rotations to other places, but that's going to be your focal point of contact. So those are the main requirements that you need to start the vocational training.
How about the language requirements?
Yes, very good.
Where and when does this come in?
I forgot that. How did I even forget that? So the language requirement is B2. Now, B2 is the level of German that enables someone to understand, to have a normal conversation, and also to be able to read and write the language, because the training also requires protocol writings, reading medical reports, and being able to talk to doctors and patients and colleagues. So the German language level B2 should be the solid background you have. However, for those who are confused, there is a requirement when you go to the German embassy, for example, in Lagos. They will say that you need only B1. So you need B1 to apply for the visa. But since most employers are very keen on a good German level, then they will require B2. So to apply for the visa, you need B1. But for you to be able to get a job contract, you will need to have a B2 certificate.
I see.
Yeah.
And you normally would need this job contract before you apply for the visa. Is that
yes.
correct? Yeah.
Correct.
So, I mean,
because it's a work, you're coming to Germany on a Ausbildung or work visa, so not a study visa. Later on, we'll talk about the benefits, and this is exactly one of the benefits, that you come to Germany with a very good foundation. You're coming to work and study, which would alleviate all the kind of stress that students usually go through, those who are coming for academic studies.
Yeah. I think before we go into that, let me just go through the comment section here just to see if there are one or two questions that we could take. Some comments here. So there's one about studying in Germany tuition free. Sounds sweet, but the application is always seem more complicated than the UK. Yeah, it's more complicated than the UK, Canada, and the USA because of the benefits that you get here. I think Germany offers relatively way more than the other countries. It depends on what you're looking for. And so this makes it also quite competitive. And when it becomes competitive, then the application process is not necessarily complicated per se, but it becomes a bit demanding, because there are many people applying for it and they want to select more or less the best people that qualify for it. So it's not as easy as other locations. Other locations, it's easy because, you pay a lot of money, and this money that you pay helps to take care of most of the work. But here, you don't pay anything, more or less. You rather earn.
Yes.
And so for them to take the time to do the work of processing your application, it needs to be, very good, because otherwise you're giving them more work. So, but that notwithstanding, I think we have a community here that can always assist with the process. Again, it's either you do it yourself or you outsource it.
Yeah. May I add something to that, Michael?
Please, go on.
Yeah, I think you have said the right thing. There are sometimes people who think, yes, I can do it on my own. And of course, it takes time. It's quite stressful.
Yeah.
But working, let's say, with people like Japado Travel, working with people like us who have been here in the system for 16 years, 10 years plus, you see the system from in and out. You know the language. You understand their requirements. You understand the process. It helps a lot. Does that mean that you can't do it on your own? Yes, of course you can, but it might take a great deal of self-sacrifice and a lot of time and reading and trying to understand the things, including, of course, the barrier. The German language is also a barrier to itself. But also you have said something very important. Because it's a public good funded by the German government, of course there is a tax interest. If you go into the UK, Canada, or Australia, it's private. The institutions are getting money. The government is getting money. Here, it's the government spending money on you.
Yeah.
The government spends over 10,000 euros on each student a year. So that means it's quite a lot of investment. Now, when they are making this investment, there is a lot of due diligence that has to be done in the background. Yeah. And this is what creates the backlog. And so many embassies, when I write to them, they are saying, yes, we want to have so many students, Stephen, but look, we have a lot of applicants, especially from West Africa. There's a lot of demand for these kind of programs, and that creates a huge backlog. That said, there are students. I have so many students coming from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Cameroon, who are here. Yes, there are some embassies where things are smooth. It's because maybe there are not so many applicants. But in some countries, there are so many applications coming.
Yeah. And these are also some things that you as the candidate may not see up front. There are some certain things that you see, but then going with our experience over the years, it's very easy for us to advise you as a candidate, do this, do that, focus on this, focus on that. That would save you a whole lot of time. And then, I mean, even in the process of you doing it yourself, there are also some expenses that you would also go as well, not to mention the time. So one really has to do the balance, you know. So you either would give the money or you give the time and then the risk, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, Stephen, let's go now to the benefits of, or let's talk about how it actually works in practice. So now I meet all these requirements. I understand the visa application process. Now I'm here. How does it work between switching from the theoretical part to the practical part, and also the payment and all that? Let's go into that a bit.
Yeah. So, how does it work practically? I would say take a step back. If, let's say, you have everything, you've applied, we said you have a job contract, you have a school contract where you're going to be doing the school. Finally, you have made it to Germany. Normally, you can either start in the summer semester in April, 1st of April usually, or for the winter semester in October. You have, first of all, to undergo the orientation for 4 weeks. That's where you're going to report to your school or the hospital where you're going to be placed. You will do the first 4 weeks an induction into the German healthcare system. Basically, you will try to understand what you're going to do the next 3 years. After those 4 weeks, then you're going to go into the practice. But during those 4 weeks, yes, you're going to have the theory, but also you have labs where you can also see firsthand what are the things. How do I mobilize someone who is completely handicapped? How do I manage small things like handling hygiene materials? How do I go about feeding people that are bedridden? How do I go about managing patients' data? How do I go about writing down protocols, experiences during the day? So these are the things that you're going to learn during the first orientation. Then 4 weeks after that, you'll go into the practice. You will try to practice that. And then once you've done that, you come back again for 4 weeks in the school, and so on and so forth. So you keep rotating. In the first year, you're doing the basic care, and then in the second, you do the what we call the Behandlungspflege, or the medical care, or the part where you become more and more expertise in your field, but still under the supervision of a professional. So, how to go from there? Finally, you graduate after 3 years, and you write your final exam, which is the state exam, which is quite competitive, and then you become a state examined nurse. Right. Now, is there anything else in that process where you feel like students might be more interested in?
Sure. I think this is maybe like I wouldn't say the most exciting per se, but how much they earn when they're working.
Yeah, a good one. Yeah, like it's a good one, because you're not doing this, of course, for free. Now, for the last couple of years, Germany, or mainly nursing in most parts of the world, was not well regarded in terms of payment. But COVID had a lot of bad things, but also brought a lot of changes into the health world. Since, let's say, the last 1 or 2 years, salaries of nurses have grown and have increased, even for the trainees. So as a trainee, you're going to be earning a monthly salary of around 1,100 in the first year per month, and then in the second year around 1,200 euros per month. And in the third year, you are allowed to, or you will be able to earn around 1,300 euros. Now, as a student, you're already allowed, as a nursing student or a health care related program, you're allowed also to work 10 extra hours per week. That's 40 hours a month. So I know some students who are very hardworking, and they will try to use their spare time after school to go and take another small job where they can earn a mini job money, which is maybe around 490 or 500 euros, in addition to their normal salary. So this makes it quite easy for them to pay for their rent and to pay for their bills. Remember, they don't pay tuition, and most of the costs like health insurance are taken care by the employers.
That's right. Yeah, of
Now,
course.
after graduation, you graduate, then you are on the market. When it comes to jobs, students who have done nursing or health-related jobs are the most on demand. I have a case of a student who graduated this year in September. By the time she graduated, she had 9 job contracts pushed under her box because everyone wants to retain her.
Of
And then
course.
she looks at the price, she looks at the cost and says, so if this one pays a little bit more, this one gives me a little bit more work and life balance, this one gives me more academic chance for progression and further studies. Then she had to make a decision based on who gives me more room for flexibility and further training. She had to go for that. So in terms of salary scale, it comes down to where you want to work because each state might differ slightly in payment. I would say, for example, for Berlin, it would be around 2,000, between 2,500 to 3,800 euros gross. If you go to the southern parts, then you have between 3,800 up to 4,000 euros. And if you go to the western part, it could be even more competitive, that they offer between 4,000 probably to 4,500. There are so many differences, but also it comes down to your ability to negotiate because the employers they are looking for professionals and they can't find them. So that means you are on the market and you can determine your price, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that negotiation skills and also how you present yourself, because it's at the end of the day, it's really about you, because you have the skills, they are looking for it, and then it's how you present it versus how the other candidates present it. And then you can get the best or the highest offer.
Yeah.
There have been a guy here requesting to join. Let's see what they have to say. I'm not sure if this is some sort of bug from Instagram or what, but I will try to add him now and see if it's going to work, and it's not working. Let's do it again. It's not working. Okay, good. Yeah, I think, Steve, we've covered quite some important things about the Ausbildung in Germany within the healthcare sector. I just want, before we move forward, I just want you to, if you can, touch a bit on, just give an overview of other areas where one can do an Ausbildung in Germany, just in general. We can go deeper just to know, okay, hey, there's the healthcare sector. What are the other sectors that people can also do Ausbildung in or undergo this vocational training?
Yeah. So there are those sectors that we call right now the Mangelberufe, those professions that are in dire need of a Nachwuchs, how do you say professionals. So these sectors would include, for example, construction. They would include what do you say, Einzelhandel, trade,
trade, so like retail trading,
retail, and all these, they are in dire need and they offer quite a lot of benefits. There are so many trainee courses, for example, those in information technology, electricians, construction, and local Führer, how do you say local Führer, like those who are into, for example, driving for automobile. They are offering a lot of these autos, Kfz Mechanica. Quite a number of these companies are actually looking for students, even open to students coming from abroad. Previously, this was difficult, but now they are getting more and more open to students applying for abroad. As long as you meet the requirements, then they do usually accept, and they will be able to offer you a placement. Plus, in some cases, they are even able to offer you some kind of accommodation where you're going to be staying, especially those that are very much in the remote parts.
Yeah. I think there's a whole lot of opportunities in Germany, and these small sectors or small companies, they are like the backbone of the German economy that you see today, that has been in existence. That the system encourages small businesses, local manufacturing, local businesses, support in different ways, and also see that there are different options of qualification that you can have to take in certain roles or certain professions, that you do not necessarily need to have a degree before you work professionally, you know. And I think this has encouraged a lot of small businesses, you know. You call them small because not like small in money, because these are actually international companies. They're exporting products, services from Germany to other parts of the world, you know. I think this is something maybe other countries could learn from, you know. It's so interesting that you find out that more and more it becomes, at least it's something that I experience, and maybe you could also agree with this, more and more when companies have candidates to employ, so they see them, their qualifications, one has a PhD, a bachelor's, a master's, and then an Ausbildung. What the company is looking for is who can actually do that job. They don't care about the qualification. Absolutely. It would pay the company more to hire someone with an Ausbildung than a PhD or a master's degree, because for a master's degree, there's the minimum wage you have to pay that person.
Absolutely.
You know? And what an employer wants is someone that can do the job. They don't care about the qualification. You know, talking about that, I think all the jobs that I've changed, it was only on one occasion that I was asked for my master's degree certificate. And I think that came in because I was using it to, you know, bargain for a better payment, to negotiate. Say, I have this qualification, I did this, I have this grade, you know, I stand, you should pay me this, you know. And they were like, let's see it, let's see that qualification, you know. So and so I guess at the end of the day, these are things that people just have to understand, to open their eyes and see, hey, you don't have to go through the stress of a degree and all that. With a vocational course, select what you want to do, you will have a decent life. And the fact is, it doesn't stop there. If you want to continue, then you can proceed, you know, but it's already a good stepping stone for you.
Yes. I think you mentioned a very good point. What can our countries learn from the German Ausbildung system? We do not need a lot of academicians. Yes, we need academics, but we need people who create, people who do deliver jobs. Now, the advantage of this system is that they prepare future workers from ground zero. They prepare and they make sure they learn according to their internal working, the company culture, and their methods of work, and so on. Which is opposed to those who are prepared, who are ready to take on someone who's trained somewhere, and then that person comes and you need 1 year of induction training and preparing them, and then after 2 years, this person goes somewhere else. Now, this one, they prepare them, and they make sure that you learn according to the company's set of work. And then from there, you also have the connection to the company. And this is where the Ausbildung system really is very helpful. And like you said, it's good to have an academic degree, but if you're looking for a job, especially in our countries where we have more youth that are looking for jobs, I would say instead of going for the academic degree, then why not do a vocational training and then learn on the job? And if you're interested in furthering your studies, then you can still do that while working afterwards.
Exactly. I think people will have the ground knowledge, the fundamentals of doing certain jobs, certain profession, you know, and not so much theories and studies in the uni and all that. At the end of the day, you have a lot of theoretical knowledge, but then you don't know how to practice it. There's no way to put it into practice. And I think this would actually pay the country a whole lot, because the African countries a whole lot, because we need to be producing, we need to be offering services, we need to not just have knowledge of physics, mathematics, and all that, but hey, how do you put that into applied? How do you do something? You know, I think this thing is really missing. And if one cannot obtain this back home, I think nothing stops them from coming here, getting that knowledge, and then working and implementing it back home as well.
Exactly.
You know, so maybe this is also something that people could look into.
Exactly.
But before we're running up slowly, I don't want to keep you so long, because I think this is
no
going to go on and on. I want us to talk a bit about some I think it's a very important aspect, the challenges associated with this. And I'd like to start off by just going back to when we connected at first. Was it last year or the year before? When we first started talking. And I think through you, I got in contact with the people at Vivantes in Berlin. This the biggest healthcare training center. So I had a chat with the lady, very nice lady. She took her time to get on the call with me, and she opened my eyes to a very important aspect that people, or that agencies, let me put it that way, do not maybe think about, and that is bringing people from abroad to Germany. For them, it's very important that one that just does not just land in Germany, because that orientation you talked about, it's very important. The accommodation challenges. You learned B1, B2 German. Like, it's a different thing when you come here. When someone speaks to you, I've seen people that have C1, they can't say shit, nothing, but they have C1 in paper. I mean, no disrespect, but it's a total different experience. You land in Germany, you have to deal with accommodation, you have to deal with the weather, you have to deal with the language, and now we're talking about learning at the professional level, technical words and all that. It's not just going grocery shopping. I want this, I don't want this. How much is this? It's a whole different level. And then you're speaking with doctors who are like highly trained. They don't care about your level of German. They just want to communicate and expect you to communicate to them. So I think there have been many people who came and this really messed them up. So I just want to hear from you. How can one ensure that, hey, when they come, they are solidly, grounded, that they don't, these challenges will come, but at least that they are well prepared for it, that all these issues that just hit you when you arrive, that you can, avoid them.
Very, very important point, Michael. And to be honest, it's not only your own observation, it's what I have observed. A lot of people that come here, especially those that did it themselves and try somehow to come here, or they had agencies that whose only job was to help them to come to Germany. They really get shocked, and some of them want to go back immediately.
So sad.
Now, how can you prepare yourself? First of all, we go back to the first point I mentioned. Beside the academic requirements, I would say check your own motivation. Why do I want to do this? Then because everything will come back to that. You are a very good social person, pro-person, empathetic, understanding. You're interested in the well-being or the health of others, then you are good for this job. Then the second thing of how to prepare. Let's say you just finished your WAEC or NECO or A-levels or KSCE in Kenya, and you don't even know yet whether this is the right thing. I would advise maybe take a bit of time back home, let's say 6 or 12 weeks back home, work in a hospital, try to find a place, a healthcare institution where you can try to work and see whether this is for you. That will give you very much valuable insight into the job, the challenges and the requirements and the stresses of the job. But then, for those who are coming here and you're doing a German language course somewhere, because I know there are so many places where you can learn German language to B2, but like you said, it's not just about the language. It's also understanding the terms, the terminologies, the landscape. What does it take to work in the German healthcare institution? These are things that you can learn, usually, if you have a school that prepares you for that. But I would say if you don't have a school that has German language with integrated preparation course, then do a lot of individual research. There's a lot of information online. There's a lot of the truths of data that you can really find. Try to immerse yourself into the system. One thing I do for my students, so usually when I prepare students, I tell them, go and read about the company, read about their philosophy, go and understand what kind of jobs or services they are offering, and try to put yourself in that context and go and do further research on that. This is very important before you come, so that by the time you come here, you understand what it means. There are people who come here and they think, okay, it's just about going there and giving medicine and injection, and then they tell you, okay, now you go, here's the stuff, go and wash Herr Müller. That this person does not even, in his mindset, is never imagined taking care of someone else's hygiene. So you need to be aware of all this, because it's part of the training and you have to do it if you want to qualify. Now, after coming here, what can you do? When you come here, at least identify people that have already been in the field, people that are already experienced, people or organizations that are helping you in integration. Try to make friends with those kind of people, because some of the things that you're going through, they have already gone through that. So instead of you falling into pitfalls, you can learn from them. So those are some of the tips I would rather give.
I mean, I could not overemphasize the importance of preparing yourself very well before coming. Not to present it as a very say all the challenging experience, but I think for the things that people have to do, that need for even more preparation comes in. If someone is coming for a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, it's different. Why? Because you're coming mainly to study. So you have the time to study, do your things in the classroom, and then slowly get a job, a mini job on the side, which you have the option to decide what to do. You're not surprised with, certain kind of activities. Like you mentioned, someone who just comes and they don't have the right orientation, and they're given a task to do, go take care of this man or this lady, or go here, and then it's like maybe you're not that kind of a person, So I really like that the aspect that you mentioned, that they should take out some weeks, go to a hospital, just gain some experience. And I do believe that hospitals back home would be willing to take people who just want to interest there for free. For example, say, okay, hey, I am planning to go to Germany to undergo this training. I'm not sure if this is what I want, so I just want to have some experience here, work with people, tell me what I can do. Have this experience within the hospital setting. I think this would already be putting their mind into that shape, that come here, they're not surprised with certain activities, because by default, it's going to be strange when you arrive Germany for the first time. The weather is not going to look the same, especially if you come in winter. And then I don't even know if you would settle your accommodation issues. So that would also be another stress on its own. But I think in all, finding a community, like you mentioned, people who have done this thing before, getting connected with them before you, move to Germany or wherever you want to move to, I think this would also really help. Let me see if I can take one. If we can take one question here. So Stephen, there's a question here. Someone is asking, what about someone who already has a nursing degree but would like to go further to pursue her bachelor's degree? Is it also possible to work in school? I think.
Okay, so if you already have a bachelor's, let's say BSc in nursing, then doing another vocational course would be an advantage for you to learn from the inside. But you can also qualify for the job search visa, so you can come as a professional nurse. The requirement here would be like you come for 1 year of accreditation training, where you train to basically get the state exam, because yes, you are qualified probably in Uganda, in Nigeria, in Ghana, wherever, but according to the German system, you're not yet qualified until they have confirmation that you are. That's why you have to go through that German language B1 level, come here, do 1 year of preparation attached to a hospital or a home care. And then after that 1 year, you have the equivalence of the state exam. But even during that 1 year, you're going to be paid. You're paid a salary which is a bit slightly higher than the vocational students are earning. So it is possible definitely to come. So they can get in touch with you, with Japado Travel, and then we can definitely guide them through that process.
I think that's also an important point for people who already have a degree in nursing back home, because your degree in nursing back home is one thing, but you cannot really use that here directly. They need that, how is it called? They need that verification. That's a mechanic to recognize it.
Yeah.
But not besides that, there's also the language as well, which you have to
Yes.
learn, right?
Yes.
So the core, profession like nursing requires also some foundation in the language, which I see most times, in my opinion, I see learning a new language as an opportunity as opposed to a challenge, And I
Yeah.
think this mindset is also something nice that people should have. Learning something new should present itself as an opportunity rather than a challenge,
It is a big opportunity.
Totally. Great. So guys, I'd like to thank you all so much for staying until this time.
Michael, could I add on one last part, which is
Please.
very, very important for those who are considering this vocational? I did not overemphasize the point of value for money. Like you really saving a lot of money. We didn't talk about the academic. You need 11,000 euros to come here as a student. Now, when you're coming here as a vocational student, you don't need all that because you have a job contract, because you're going to be earning a salary with a monthly salary which is way above the 934 euros, which you need as a student to show. That's an opportunity that everyone should take care of.
Yeah.
Your employer pays your insurance, so you have insurance taken care of. In some cases, there are some employers who are even willing to offer subsidized accommodation. So there are quite a number of benefits. Maybe we'll expound more on this next year, even to compare, should I go for academic nursing or should I go for vocational nursing? Because there's also that possibility of doing a degree in nursing.
Yeah. True. I actually wanted to ask about the financial aspect, especially with regards to getting the student, getting the visa to come to Germany. The visa that the person is going to get. So, what type of visa category does this belong to? Would this be under the student visa or the work visa?
It's a work visa. It's a work visa. It would cost around 75 euros. And the processing time is way faster than a study visa. But if you're applying from Nigeria, we all know that the embassy in Lagos is very slow. There is a backlog, a lot of people that are in process. So you need to plan 1 year ahead. So if you're coming next year, let's say in October, I plan the time right now to already apply for the visa appointment. Then start learning the language now, such that by the time you get to around maybe August, September, you have the right requirements, and then you can apply, and then you can get your visa appointment realized, because you can't get an appointment within just weeks, like in other countries. So plan ahead of time. Now, when it comes to other costs, of course, the flight costs and all that, this is going to be on you as a person. But the main cost that you should think about is the cost of learning the language. Now, here you can consider learning the language locally, or you can find there are lots of pathway schools here where you can learn the language online, very intensive, with integrated curriculum for preparing you for the nursing profession. So for those who are interested in knowing more about it, of course, they can get in touch with you, and then you can guide them, because there are plenty of options here where they can stay online, learn to the required level, and then get the assistance to come here with the right visa and all the support throughout the process. So other costs involved, basically, I would say maybe the initial cost of accommodation once you have arrived here. Because remember, you're going to get your first salary, let's say, towards the end of the month, but your semester will be starting at the beginning of the month. So you should plan at least the first month when you arrive here where you're going to live, and at least have accommodation issues sorted out. Then by around the 25th or the 30th of the month, you have your salary. Then the month following after that, you can always sort out yourself because you have some money to use. Those are the main costs, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. So guys, Steven is our official partner. We're working together to see that when it comes to moving to Germany, that we can guide you on the right way to go. The vocational pathway, as you've heard, is a very attractive pathway. Besides how much you save on cost, there's also that solid foundation that you get when it comes to working in the German industry, more specifically the healthcare space, the healthcare domain. We also talked about how much you stand to earn when you're working as a student, which I think is very attractive, because if you were studying bachelor's or master's, you may not have this type of job that you're working on earning a certain amount of money. Not to mention the hurdles that would come with the visa application process and the payment of insurance and so on and so forth. So again, this presents itself as an attractive opportunity for you, especially for the young people. You're just finishing high school. You're still very young. I think this is something to consider. Why? Because it's a way for you to further discover yourself, especially if you're someone who is moving towards the healthcare direction. It's a way to discover yourself. Nothing stops you, from later on getting a nursing degree also here in Germany, or even a degree in medicine later in Germany. So you can always start from this way, get a solid foundation, that experience, and then you can decide what you want to do next.
And you are an essential worker.
And you are an essential worker. You are an essential
Very good.
Yeah. Stephen, I'd like to thank you so very much for taking.
Thank you.
Actually, I learned a whole lot from this session, I must confess.
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much. And I think this opened not just my eyes, but also the eyes of many listeners here or viewers here to different aspects of moving abroad that they had not thought of. Before we round up, any final words from you or some, wrapping message for the viewers?
Thank you very much, Michael, for this opportunity. I really appreciate what Japa to Travel is doing. It's really good to have someone guiding you who is either on ground or who is working with people on ground, because most of the things are very complicated, especially when it comes to the German language barriers. But one thing I would like to add on to our brothers and sisters watching, especially from Africa, I would say we are the youngest continent in the world. We have a population with a lot of potential. The challenge that we have is that most of our systems cannot adapt or we cannot cope up with our population growth. So we're looking for opportunities to learn, advance knowledge, and get skills. Maybe not to stay here and build these economies, but also to go back and build our economies. So if we have countries like Germany that are giving us the opportunities to come, learn, get skills and training for free, subsidized by German taxpayers, why not go for that? Yes, there is the German language barrier, but it's an opportunity. Learn the language. But because when you go back home, you take this with you. No one is going to remain with that. It's yours. If you decide to stay here, yes, you're going to use it, and the opportunities are enormous. So this is my last word. Don't fear the language. Look at it as an opportunity. Be interested in reading. Be interested in informing yourself. Question things and find out about this opportunity. But I believe that the vocational, this on-job training could be the future, I would say. With the AI, with the internet, with the Internet of Things and the advancement of technology, there are certain roles that are going to be obsolete, but there are certain jobs that are going to be more and more important, especially those that have to do with human, working with people. Those ones cannot be replaced by AI. And these are the health jobs. These are jobs that have to do with human beings and health. That's why I believe for those who are passionately interested in this, this could be a great future.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Stephen, once more. I wish you a nice weekend.
Thank you.
And we are going to publish this session here on Instagram, on YouTube, and all our media platforms. And I'm really hoping that this message today will help someone that is going to watch it or listen to it later on.
Thank you very much, Michael. Have a great day. Bye.
You too. Bye for now.